Hey guys, this is Nathan and welcome to the Gaming 4. Today in this Unturned map review, we're going to be covering a map called Tekanov. Now this map did pretty well, it got an 80 out of 100, so let us start by going over some of the strengths of this map and then we'll move on to some of the weaknesses. So one of the things that we look for in every map is the amount of food and water spawns to support a certain amount of people. This map did a pretty good job of including a decent amount of food and water spawns, probably for about 1 to 2 people comfortably. Something else that was also really important about this map, because it is a large map, is there was a good amount of air, ground, and water vehicles spread out through most of the major locations. There's also a good amount of vehicle maintenance gear for those vehicles, so you really shouldn't have very much trouble at all maintaining the vehicle that you have and making sure that it can get you from place to place. Now this map does include a dead zone, and because of that there was a good amount of anti-dead zone gear provided for the players in multiple locations actually, so it will take some time to get and find those locations, but when you do get there you can find quite a bit of anti-dead zone gear so you can comfortably explore those dead zone areas. In terms of the natural side of this map, there was actually a good inclusion of natural resources such as berries, wild animals, and metal nodes. So if you're one of those people that want to take a more natural side of survival, you can go off and farm and live off the land where you can be pretty comfortable not looting some of the main cities and getting your items from there. Also, something that was pretty interesting about this map is that it did include a good amount of attachments for their weapons. A lot of maps do lack attachments, and it's just one of those things that it sort of tops off your gun, makes them a bit more enjoyable and usable, and makes some of the gun gameplay a lot more satisfying when you do have those attachments available. Now I do want to mention the detailing as well. It was kind of inconsistent throughout the map, but it was pretty average overall. Some areas of the map were very nice and very creative. They were definitely worth visiting and looked very good. Unfortunately, other areas of the map were not really completely detailed and others were just minimally detailed, so there definitely could be some work on the detailing overall, but the work that was put into it was definitely evident, and it is hard to detail an entire large map in a consistent manner. Something that was also pretty interesting about this map, and it kind of had to do with the lore, is that it is supposed to be located in and or near Russia, and it was very nice that the landscape did a very good job of staying consistent with the Russia theme. Pretty much as soon as you get into the map, you feel the Russia about it, and it definitely fits with that geographical area that it's supposed to be in. In terms of one of the more difficult aspects of this game, it did include a couple mega zombie spawns, and I'm happy to say that the mega zombies that were included in this map were of an appropriate difficulty and actually were worth killing. They dropped quite valuable loot, and I definitely would suggest trying to team up and take one down if you are surviving in this map. Now in terms of some more recent content like NPCs and quest lines, there was quite a lot of work put into those in this map. There was at least 3 separate NPC locations, and there was tons of work put into dialogues, quest lines, and vendors. So if you are surviving on this map, do plan on visiting those NPCs, trying to get some more out of the story and the lore of the map, sort of enjoy yourself more as you play through this map as well. Now as you guys may have noticed, this map did score a 5 out of 5 for Easter eggs, and that is because there are quite a few good Easter eggs throughout the map. A lot of those included underground cave systems, which were overall pretty nice and very large as well. So the map maker did do a very good job of providing a lot of underground content, which is always kind of fun to sort of search around some of those hidden areas. So there's definitely a lot to look for in terms of Easter eggs and secret areas of this map. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the strengths of this map. Obviously it did pretty well, so there's a lot to talk about, but let's move on to some of the weaknesses. And actually with the weaknesses, there are a few larger issues that really should be addressed and fixed, which really would have improved the score a lot, but there was also a lot of small things that could have been tweaked and fixed just to overall polish the map and raise the map's points by a couple here and there. So one of the more major issues of this map that we look for in pretty much every map has to do with a lack of clothing spawns. Throughout the entire survival, we were having a very hard time of coming up with a complete set of shirt, pants, vest, and backpack. Now I think there were some balancing issues. There was a very huge lack of vests in the item spawn tables. We did take a look at those, and getting backpacks was super rare as well. Now this has to do with, I think, overall just a lack of clothing spawns in general, because even the normal things like shirt and pants you don't find that many of, and it is pretty important to have duplicates of those types of items so that survivors can break them down in order to get some extra cloth for bandages and rags, etc. Another type of item spawn that was overall missing that a lot of maps have trouble with was a lack of ammo for weapons, and this is mainly in the form of ammo crates. Thankfully there were a decent amount of guns and clip spawns in a lot of the military locations, but there was a huge lack of ammo crates to where you could fill up those clips that you have, which would also allow you to use your guns quite a bit more, which is appropriate because this map is somewhat challenging, which was actually a good thing. There were some other more general issues with the item spawns overall. In a lot of the the major cities or locations, there was a general lack of item spawns. I looked at the counts and I looked at how many were placed, and most of the locations could generally use 50% more item spawns. Just more for the players to find. It makes raiding more interesting, more satisfying, because you are able to get more of the loot that you actually need to survive. There was also way too many of certain item spawns. Two main ones that stood out in particular was Snipierza magazine as well as a blowtorch. For some reason there was way too many of both of those item spawns, so I don't know what you did to get those so off, but tweak those two and make sure that there's less of those overall. Alright, so moving on to one of the other more general issues, the landscape overall in this map was kind of boring. Now it's kind of unfortunate because it is supposed to be replicating the Russia style of map, and it does that very well, but unfortunately the Russia style of map is kind of boring in and of itself. Now there's a couple ways that you could fix this. First of all, add more locations. This map kind of suffers from large map syndrome, to where there's not enough item spawns and there's not enough locations, which overall makes the map boring, to where you're walking through endless amounts of terrain that doesn't really matter or really enhance the survival at all. Also, something that happened as a result of the styling towards Russia was the use of very few materials or even different types of trees. Throughout the entire map, there was almost one or two shades of grass colors that were very similar, and pretty much only one type of tree throughout the entire map. This overall gives the map a very bland feel when you look at it from a big picture standpoint, and this does affect your survival. The players will become a little bit bored of just traveling through the same old landscape, and you really do need to break it up in some way. Add more landmarks, add more locations, change up the materials, add different types of trees, do anything to break up the monotony of the landscape. One last thing relating to the landscape of the map had to do with the boundary between the playable area and the outside of the map. Unfortunately, this boundary area was very sloppily done, and from the inside of the map you could see clearly where the map ends and where you cannot go as a survivor. In the good maps, you'll notice that this area should transition smoothly from one to the other, to where it's almost hard for the player to tell where the map ends and where the map begins. This is better overall just for the feel of the map, and it just looks better, of course, so definitely touch up those boundary areas, try to smooth them into the rest of the map as best you can, to where it's hard to tell that there is a boundary there in the first place. Alright, so let's move on to some of the smaller things in the map that didn't really affect the score as much, but were kind of pet peeves or just small issues that really should be worked on just to fine-tune the map and make it more polished as an overall product. So first of all, some of the areas of the map were very difficult to get to, but did not really include a good payoff in terms of interest, how good it looked, or the type of loot that you could get from those areas. Now some of these were kind of Easter egg areas, and it is kind of important to get maximum Easter egg points to make the Easter eggs worth going to in terms of at least what they look like, but definitely in terms of item spawns as well. So take a look at some of those harder to get to areas and try to spruce them up, make them worth getting to, otherwise you're just wasting the survivors' time, and they're going to become a little bit more annoyed at your map every time they go to explore an area and there's actually nothing there for them to see. Something else that was more of a technical issue had to do with the GPS. The GPS picture was off. It was not even of the map. I don't know of what map it was. I think maybe it could have been the official Russia map, but it was very disorienting to pick up a GPS and to have it be useless essentially. So you definitely should fix that, rebake the GPS. I don't know how you missed it, but make sure you fix that in your map. It's kind of a sloppy issue. Just so you guys know though, if you do play the map, the charts are fine. So you can rely on the charts. They do show you the relative location of where you are. Just do not trust the GPSs until that gets fixed. Another thing that could also potentially annoy a lot of players of your map has to do with the Easter egg location. There's one in particular that would almost guarantee a player's death if they tried to get through that area. I would advise against doing that, even if you're just trying to troll people, because it will disappoint players. It will make them feel like they shouldn't play the map. It will make them more annoyed about the way that you have made their map. So whenever possible, make a clear, easy way to get through some areas and don't risk killing the player if you don't have to. So some of the last things has to do with more glitches and bugs. There was one location in the map, I should show a clip in the background here, where I did fall through the ground. Now I'm not sure how this actually happened. I actually have no flipping clue. It doesn't make sense to me. There wasn't even a hole volume there, but I was able to fall through the ground. It could have been a server problem, but I'll just test that area, make sure that that does not persist and that that's not a common thing. The very last thing I wanted to mention was that throughout the NPCs there was an ammo quest that was used. Now just a warning with the ammo quest, it is broken. I would definitely suggest against using the ammo type quests just because they don't work properly. Alrighty guys, so that's pretty much it for the strengths and weaknesses. Obviously there's a lot to like about this map and there's also a lot to work on. Hopefully the map maker will take a look at this video and hopefully make it more enjoyable for you guys to play. It's obviously doing really well on the Steam Workshop shop already. It's got 5 out of 5 stars, but there's definitely some things that can be fixed with it. If you guys are interested in checking out this map, there will of course be a link to it in the description below. Feel free to go click on that and check it out. It was definitely a fun map to play. Also, if you guys are interested in having your map reviewed this season, we are doing a little bit different than the previous season. I mentioned before in the last video that you should head over to our Discord. We will be voting regularly each week or two on which map is to be reviewed, and this map actually won the second vote. So if you guys want to have your map potentially reviewed in this season, head over to our Discord. There will be a link to a nomination poll where you can submit your map, and then the map will be voted on based on what the community wants. So if you guys want to be involved in that way, our Discord is the place to be, and there will of course be an invite link to our Discord in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you want to see some more, and I will see you all later.